So, quick question. Um, has anyone here made use of Python before? You can signify in the chat section. Is this the first time you're hearing about Python, or is this the first time you're using it? Just signify in the chat section. So just send the response in the chat section. Is this the first time you're using Python, or is this the first time you're delving into Python, or you've worked with Python before? So Chiamaka, Queen Darlene, Casey, Izzy, Edidion, please drop a response in the chat section. So Queen Darlene says this is her first time doing Python. Okay, Chiamaka says it's not her first time. Okay. All right, this is good. Please keep the responses coming. I would like this class to be very interactive as much as possible. That way, I get to know if I'm really passing my message across. So it doesn't help if you don't respond, because as an instructor, the way I am able to know that I am actually making an impact is if those that I am instructing give me feedback. And one of the ways you can give feedback is by dropping responses in the comment section. So please, I asked the question. So please respond if you've not responded. Is this your first time working with Python, or you've worked with Python before? We only have 3 responses and we are more than 3 here. Okay. Okay. Mercy, you're left. You've not responded. Is this the first time you're using Python? And how many of us are joining this call today with our personal computer? How many of us are joining this call today with the computer? You can signify by either sending a message here. Okay, so Quindali, you're joining with your laptop. Chamaka, you're joining with okay. So if you're joining with your mobile phone, do you have your laptop close to you so that at least you can practice? All right. Okay. 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 All right. So I've gotten responses. Uh, okay, Queen Darlene, you raised your hand. You're joining with your laptop, yes? Okay. All right then. So let's commence. So I'm going to try to make this class as very as explanatory as possible and try to break down the things that's needed. All right then. So Python is a very popular programming language. Most of what people use now, Python is one of the very popular programming languages. So one of the most popular programming language at the moment is JavaScript. So I'm sure some of us may have heard of JavaScript before. JavaScript actually powers a lot of web applications at the moment, especially front-end web applications. However, Python picked up in recent years, and that is because of its attachment to machine learning. So if you want to build any software or application that has to do with machine learning, then Python is the programming language to go. And that is the reason why Python gained a lot of popularity in the past couple of years. Now, there is the rave about AI, and for you to work with AI, you need to make use of Python. So you can actually see the boom and the rave about Python as a programming language. So at the moment, developers or backend developers who know how to use Python are paid a whole lot of money. So if you're looking at the what's the word? If you're looking at the I'm trying to look for a good word for it. It's not durability. If you're trying to see if Python really pays well, so say you want to focus on Python, then it really does pay well. If you are a data analyst, the knowledge of Python is very, very important. It can give you an added edge if you're trying to apply for a job, because at times in your job as a data analyst, you're going to have cases whereby you want to deal with data and then you need a knowledge of a programming language like Python, and that would be very, very helpful. Yeah, so Python is very important. So either as a data analyst, someone that does that works as a data scientist, or if you are a back-end engineer, you're not exactly working with data as a data analyst, but you're trying to build a web application, right? Python can do that for you. So Python is a very versatile programming language. Quindalin, you can raise down your hand. Yeah, and take down your hand. All right. So first off, for you to get Python running on your local computer, you need to install Python locally. So I would ask, for those of us who are here with our laptops, do we have Python installed already? If you have, please signify in the chat section. Do you have Python already installed on your computer? Okay. Ididion says she has it installed. Messi says yes. Quindalin says yes. Who else has Python already installed? Anybody? Any other person? Okay, so it's actually good to know that lots of us have Python already installed on our computer. So I'll need I'll need a representative. So who amongst us would like to explain to us very briefly about how they were able to install Python on their computer? Just a couple of seconds, it doesn't have to be much. Anyone? Okay, Edidion, can go ahead.
Okay, hello, good evening. Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so what I did was I went to my web browser. I typed python.org. So when you press enter, it will open a website for you, and from that website you'll be able to see the download on there. You can download Python for either Windows, Mac, or for any other computer that you are using. That was how I was able to download my own.
All right, thank you very much for that, Gideon. So there are different Python versions. So those of us that installed Python, what version did we install? Version 2? Sorry, Python 2 or Python 3? Okay. Please keep the comments coming. Python 2 or Python 3? Python 3. Okay. So lots of us here are making use of Python 3. Has anyone here worked with Python 2 before? Please signify in the chat section if anyone here has worked with Python 2 before. So Python 2 is, I'll call it an older version of Python. And I call it old because Python 3 came with lots of changes that made programming in Python easier. For example, some things with regards to the syntax was changed. I'm going to share my screen now uh, to explain more about this. So I will share my screen now. So this is an article from Data Camp, and this article explains in detail. Please, I hope you all can see my screen well. Please signify by dropping a reaction. Let me know you can see my screen. I'm currently sharing a page from Data Camp on the difference between Python 2 and Python 3. All right, cool. So this article, let me send the link in the chat section so you can also follow along on your mobile device or on your laptop as I'm sharing my screen. So Python 2 was released in the year 2000 by the founder or the creator of Python. So, yes, it's actually correct if I say it's old. However, Python 3 was introduced in 2008 and it came along with several improvements and new features. I'm not going to really go into details. However, there are some key noticeable differences between the Python 2 and Python 3 version. So before in Python 2, if you want to print, right, you won't make use of a bracket to print. However, when you want to print out in Python 3, you have to write the print and then you put a bracket and then add what you want to print inside. This is one change that was made. This is a very obvious change because if you're working with Python, most times you're going to want to print something out. So this is a very noticeable change. Another one is integer division. So if you're trying to divide, say, a number, if you're trying to divide numbers and your value is not going to be an integer. So we know that 5 divided by 2, you're going to have 2, you're going to have a remainder of 1. In Python 2, it just gives you 2 rounded up. But for with Python 3, it gives you the actual value, which is supposed to be 2.5. So in Python 2, when dividing integers, the result was always an integer. But in Python 3, the result now includes decimals. So this is just another noticeable difference between Python 2 and Python 3. Then with regards to range, there is a particular function in Python called the range function. In Python 3, to get the range, you can actually use this range function. But in Python 2, you have to write X in front of the range. So this is also a noticeable change. So to read more about this, I sent the link in the chat section so you can check it out on your own to find out the noticeable changes. So for this workshop, we are going to be making use of Python 3. So it's a good thing that we are using Python 3, right? So yeah, let's delve in. So during the course of this workshop, we're going to be having exercises. So the reason behind these exercises is to make sure that you all are getting what I am trying to explain. So while I teach, I would also be giving out okay, I'll say it again. So while I am explaining, I'll be giving out exercises that we can do here in the class. So let's begin. If you have any question, please call my attention to it. Yeah, I'll be looking out for comments in the comment section. But if say for anything I don't see your comment, please you can call my attention by unmuting your mic and asking your question. All right. So we all said we have Python installed. Do we have an application that can help us run a Python program? Do we have? If we have, just type it in the comment section. What IDE are you using? What IDE are you using? So those of us that have okay VS Code. Casey says VS Code. Who else? So Queen Darlene, not necessarily. In the case of VS Code, for example, for you to be able to use Python on it, you need to install plugins that's going to enable you to use it. So Python does not work on any IDE. You need to make sure that the IDE that you are installing is an IDE that can accommodate Python. So if you have VS Code, you can work with VS Code. So who else? Chiamaka. Uh, yeah. What IDE do you make use of? Do you have an IDE installed for Python already? VS Code. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen now and show you guys the IDE I make use of for working with Python. Okay. So I'll be sharing my screen right now. Okay. So let me stop sharing and I'll share again. Okay. I'm currently sharing my entire screen. This. So this is what I make use of. This is PyCharm. So PyCharm was built by the creators of IntelliJ. So if there's anybody here that has worked with Java, you may have heard of IntelliJ. IntelliJ is one of the most popular IDEs for building with Java, and it's built by JetBrains. So if anyone has heard of JetBrains, you'd if anyone has heard of JetBrains, then you'd what's the word? You'd know about this. So JetBrains is actually a very big software company. They build developer tools. That's what they build. They build developer tools. So for different programming languages. So they have one for PHP, they have one for Python, they have one for front-end web development, which is WebStorm. So I have PyCharm, I have PHP Storm for PHP. So basically, for any programming language that you would want to use, JetBrains they actually have an ID for you. And one thing I really like about them is that because it's tailored to your programming language, it brings lots of capabilities that you may not readily get in other softwares. So if you can, please install the community edition of PyCharm. The community edition is free. It's free. Let me look for it. This is a free edition. Yeah, this is it. It's free. So you can install it. I hope that explanation is clear, please. In case there are any questions, please let me know. All right, so this is PyCharm. I also have VS Code. However, I have not set up my VS Code to make use of Python. So probably for this call, I will just have to set it up just so that we all make use of it. Okay. Okay, so this is my version of VS Code. So for those of us that have VS Code installed, do we have it optimized to build Python applications? Do we have plugins already installed? Okay. Shamaka, what about you? Quindalin, what about you? Not yet. Okay. All right then. So we'll just do it now. Okay. So like I said, VS Code is an IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Now, the difference between VS Code and PyCharm is that PyCharm is built for Python. So that means you can't run any other programming language application inside PyCharm. PHP Storm is built only for PHP. So there are IDEs that are built for a particular programming language. That means it's optimized for it. You can't run another programming uh, language application inside. However, VS Code is multi-purpose, so you can run PHP project, you can run Python project, you can run front-end projects, name it. VS Code will allow you run it. The only thing you need to do is you need to install plugins. So when you install these plugins are what will enable your application to run in VS Code. So what we are going to do now is we are going to install these plugins that are needed for our application. So I'm currently sharing my screen. Please confirm that you can see my screen. Can you see my screen and is it clear? Is it clear enough or do I need to zoom in?
Just can you zoom in a bit?
Okay, let me zoom in again. How about now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Alright, okay. So for PyCharm, if you want to install PyCharm, get the community edition. The community edition is the one that is free. But if you get the other one, you have to pay after a free trial of 30 days. So get the community edition. This is it here. So you go to this. Let me send the URL in the chat box and you can check for the community edition. So it's going to check what device you're using. So in my case, I'm making use of a Mac OS. So it's giving me that of a Mac. So if you're using a Windows, it's going to show you what you should download for Windows. Okay, so here for VS Code, you need to install extensions. So I have installed a couple of extensions already based on what I use, right? So we're just going to have to search for Python here. And then it's going to give us lots of extensions that are going to help us run Python applications. So if you want to install an extension, make sure that you are installing an extension that has good reviews and that has lots of downloads, because you also need to be careful that you're not installing an extension that is going to cause issues for you. So this Python extension, for example, was developed by Microsoft and it has 100 million downloads, so we can be sure that this is good. So this gives us lots of things. It can format, it gives you linting, it also helps to debug. And yep, let's see. So let's install this. So if you're following along, also go to your extension, make sure you're connected to the internet and install Python. Install this extension. Then this is for indentation, which we are going to talk about later. So install this as well to help indent your work. Uh,
I don't think I can find the extension in my Microsoft Store.
no. You need to go to. Are you inside VS Code at the moment?
Okay, so I need to go into VS Code.
Yeah, you need to go into VS Code. Then you see this icon on the left that has this box
Okay.
here. Then you search for it there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So can I continue?
Not yet, please.
Okay. So again, you need to open up VS Code. The icon for extension is the fifth icon on the left. You see extensions, then you search for Python. So it opens up the marketplace and you can choose that.
Sorry, which ones
So
are we?
so you're installing this first one, which is Python. It's built by Microsoft. Python, that's the name, Python. And the next one you are installing is Python Indent. That's two. This is built by Kevin Rose. Python Indent. It has about 6.6 million downloads. Then the other one you need to install is, let me see. I'm trying to get another one. I think for now this is it. So if there are any other ones we need to use, would make use of it. But this one should be fine. Let's also install this Python Environment Manager. So altogether we're installing three extensions: Python, Python Indent, and Python Environment Manager. So when you are done installing them, you're going to exit VS Code and open it up again. Basically, the idea is to reload your IDE so that all these extensions you've installed can be able to work properly. So has anyone done that?
Yes, I have.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to exit my VS Code now and I'm going to open it up again. Edition, you raised your hand.
Okay, I have a question. So the plugin you downloaded, is it Python plugin, Python Indent, and Python Environment Manager?
Yes, those three.
Please, could you hear me?
So now that yes, I heard you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So now that I've installed these extensions, when I come to my installed and I scroll, I should see Python there because I've installed it. Sorry, I have lots of extensions, so it's plenty. But if I come to installed, I will see Python here. You see it here. I can see Python Indent. I can see Python Environment Manager. Okay. So now after doing that, you would notice that there is an icon that shows up here called Python. Before now, I did not have this Python icon here, but because I installed the Python extension, I have it here. I have it here. So please also confirm that after installing your extensions, you have this here. Can we all confirm that, please?
Yes, I can.
All right. Okay. So now let's start then. So now, first off, you need to create a folder anywhere in your computer. So you need to choose a location where you want your project to be inside. First, that's what you need to do. So you can go to your file explorer, right, and choose any location where you want your what's it called to be in. So in my case, I have my own location where I store mine. So you can choose your own location. So I'll store mine inside documents. So I'll create a new folder and I'll call it Python. So you can choose anywhere in your file explorer. So please do that. So when you create a new folder, then you need to go into your VS Code and then click on File and click on Open Folder. Now open folder, then you now need to go and locate where you created that folder. In my own case, mine is Python. and open it. I hope I'm not going too fast. Is that explanation clear, or should I go over it
No,
again?
it's not. Please go by it again.
Okay, let me create VS Code. So let me delete this. So when you're building an application, right, you need to have where it is stored. All your codes need to have a place that is stored. If not, you can't find it. So you need to create a storage location. So to create a storage location, you need to go to your file explorer. I'm saying file explorer because that's where most of our files are stored. So you can go to your file explorer or your file manager on your computer and choose any location, any place you want it to be stored. So if you want to put this in your desktop, you can put this in your desktop, right? You can put it anywhere you want to put it. So before I put mine inside the document folder, but let me put it now in the desktop folder. Maybe that will be better. So if I click on new folder, I can create one called Python. Yeah. So that's what I did. So first of all, create the folder location anywhere you want it to be. I hope that part is clear.
Yes.
All right. Then next thing you want to do is open up VS Code. Then when you open up VS Code, you go to the file option at the top section of VS Code. You see a place called file. You see a couple of options. So open file, then click on open folder. So the idea behind open folder is it's going to open the folder where your application or where your project is in. Because again, like I said, you want to be able to store your project in a location that you can find it. If not, there is no way you can see your codes. You need to store your codes in a folder or in a location. So you click on open folder, then you go to where you stored it. So you're the one that knows your system, you know where you store your things. So go and find where you stored it. In my own case, I stored mine inside desktop. So I go to desktop and now I can see Python. So I'll make sure I select that folder I created. I called my own Python. You can call your own anything you want to call it. Then I open it. So once I do that, it will show up in my VS Code. So I can see it here, Python. Please, is that clear? Any questions? All right, then let's continue. So Chiamaka, Casey, Messi, Adele, and Queen Darlene. Hope you are getting this.
Yes.
Um, when I clicked on select the folder, it's
Mhm.
giving me an option. Do you want to save changes to the following three files?
Okay, would you like to share your screen?
Oh, I'm not using my system, but I'll just open up my camera to show you.
All right, no problem.
One second. Yeah. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so you already have a previous file, like
Mm,
previous files that you've not saved. So just save them first before you open something new. Then it's going to open. Yeah,
okay. Thank you.
yeah. Welcome. Okay, then let's continue. Okay, so this is it here. So first off, when you want to work with Python, when you want to work with, let me try to explain this as best as I can. So Python files or a Python program ends with the extension .py. So the py there is picked from the name Python. So py, so anytime you see a file and it ends with .py, you know that it's a Python file. So if I create a new file and I call it new dot, to signify an extension, you need to make use of full stop. Full stop, anything after the full stop signifies your extension. Again, when you want to create a file and you want to add the extension needs to come after full stop. If I just type in new here, the system does not know it's a Python file. It will just think of it as a normal text file, no matter what rubbish I put inside here. It does not know that what I'm trying to work with is a Python file, sorry, is a Python program. But the moment I will change this now, the moment I rename it, and then I add dot. The dot again signifies that I'm adding an extension, and I add py. You've noticed that the logo has changed. The system automatically knows that what I am trying to create is a Python file. And when I do this now, it's a Python file. The logo has changed. You see, it knows that I am working with a Python file. Again, there are different types of file. I can have another file and I call it .js. Now, JS stands for JavaScript. You see that the icon also changes. So the way your IDE is able to know what file you are working with is with the extension. If you do not uh if you do not put the extension of a file you are creating, your system or your IDE will just assume that it is a text file. If I remove this .py, you see it just thinks that it is, sorry, let me try this again. Let me do test. It thinks that it is a text file. It just thinks it's a raw document. That's why you're seeing this document icon here. If I want it to be, say, another programming language, say PHP, and if I do this, it changes to PHP. So that's how it works. So when you want to work with Python, make sure that you are creating a file and you are naming it .py. I hope that part is clear, please.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so first off, you want to create a new file. So this is the icon to create a new file. This, when you hover on it, you see new file. The next one is new folder. If you want to create a new folder, this is for a folder. If you want to create a new file, this is for a new file. But in our case, I only just want to create a file. I'm going to create a file and I'm going to call it new.py. So this is it. So now that we've seen how to create a Python file, how to open a Python project, now let's go into Python syntax. Because what we are going to be putting inside this Python file is a bunch of Python codes. So we need to be able to speak Python in a way that our IDE can be able to understand. So look at Python as a programming language. So it's just like our mother tongue that we speak. If there's any one of us here that knows how to speak our mother tongue, the idea behind it is if you speak a language I don't understand, I won't get what you are trying to say or what message you are trying to pass across. So you have to speak a language that I can understand. If, for example, you are speaking Igbo, I don't understand Igbo, I won't understand what you're trying to say. But if I understand Igbo and you speak Igbo to me, I can get it because somehow our brain is wired in a way that if you understand Igbo, you are able to translate what another person is saying in a way that you can understand. So that is how IDEs work. So in an IDE, by default, your computer does not understand any programming language. By default, your computer does not understand Python. Your computer does not understand JavaScript or any other programming language in the world. The only way for your computer to be able to understand is if you install something that is going to enable your computer be able to understand it. And in this case, we all had to install Python. So installing Python gave each and everyone's computer the ability to be able to translate a Python program into something that the computer can be able to understand and give us output. I hope that explanation is clear. So in this case, we need to be able to use the Python syntax because it is this syntax that your system is going to recognize. So the Python what's it called, installer we installed a lot of things into our computer, installed lots of libraries that is going to enable our system be able to understand Python syntax. So what we are going to look at next is the Python syntax. So this is going to be as interactive as possible. So I'm going to be sharing my screen again, and let me know when you can see my screen. So for this, I'm going to make use of W3 schools. If any one of us have found out about W3 schools, so in W3 schools, you can be able to learn about not just Python, you can learn about SQL, JavaScript, Java, PHP. It teaches lots of programming languages. So we chose Python. So now we've looked at introduction to Python, how to get started with Python. Let's look into Python syntax, and then we'll look at the other beginner related things that we can cover in today's workshop. Please, I do hope I'm not going too fast. If I'm going too fast, you can please call my attention and I'll go back.
Sorry, is there a link to this document?
Yes, it's in the comment section. I just dropped it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So this is the Python syntax. One thing anyone, I don't know if anyone here might have noticed, is there anyone that works with JavaScript here or any other programming language that is not JavaScript, maybe PHP? So one thing you notice about programming languages, most of them, is that when you want to end a line, you end the line with a semicolon. When you want to end a line, you end that line with a semicolon. Python does not work that way. The way they built Python, they built it in a way that it's close to human language as much as possible. So you don't need to make use of a semicolon to denote that you've ended the line. You don't need to do that. So this is a Python syntax. For example, if you want to print this now, hello world, just here. Remember, I was talking about the difference between Python 2 and Python 3, and I said that for Python 2, if you want to print, you don't need to make use of these brackets. For a Python 3, you need to make use of the brackets to be able to print out something. Now, to print, let's go to our VS Code and let's try to create this thing that was written here. So let's try to print hello world. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and share everything so we can see my IDE. Can you all see my screen, please? Just to confirm. Okay, so this is it here. One thing you notice here is that there is a play icon here. You notice it after installing the necessary extensions. You notice a play icon here. So this play icon is supposed to run this Python program. So I'm going to just try clicking on the play icon without having anything inside. Currently, this Python file we created called new.py is empty. So when we click on this play icon, it doesn't give us anything because it's like it's empty. It's empty. Now I would like to explain what is going on here. So you're seeing that in my terminal, this is a terminal, by the way. This is a terminal. You see this environment that looks like what people use in hacker movies. This is a terminal. It's a different kind of environment. It's a terminal. And you see that I am making use of Python 3. Now, let me show you all something. Maybe that will explain what's happening here. So when you click on this play icon, what is happening is that there is a command that is being run that is running this Python file. So here in this Python tutorial here, it gave us this, and then it says that if you want to run it, you just need to run Python and then the name of your Python file. Python, in this case, your system will understand Python, and then it's going to translate whatever is in this file to what you need to see. But in my case, what I installed is Python 3. So it's going to where I have Python 3 installed, and then it's going to where I have this my file new.py. So mine is inside my desktop, inside the Python folder, and then I have new.py. So it's just doing the same thing here. But in my own, it's not Python, it's Python 3, because what I installed is Python 3. So Python 3 and then the name of the file, and it's going to run it. But now this is empty because I don't have anything here. So if I want to add something, I just need to write print, for example, print, and I put my brackets. Now, if you want to print something and you want it to show something, you need to type something inside. So if I want to print hello, I can do this and save. I am having this white shape here, this circular white shape, because I've not saved it. So when I save it by pressing Ctrl S, it goes away. So once I do this and I click on play, you see hello here. Sorry, how do I zoom this? Let me see. Can you see this, what is showing here?
Yes, I can.
All right, so we have this hello, but this is just so this is just so this is the play icon here. The play icon is here at the top right. So when you see your file that you created, you need to make sure that you are inside the Python file. Make sure you've opened the Python file. When I exit that Python file, it goes away. Make sure if I exit this, I don't see it anymore. Make sure you've opened the Python file, then you see the play icon. So that's what the extension gives you. The extension gives you the ability to run a Python program. So have you been able to see it, Casey?
Yes, I've seen it. Thank you.
Right. So now we want to print out hello world. So we can do hello and world. Make sure you save. Then when I click on play again, it does hello world. Now what if I want to print a number? If I want to print a number, say 800, I just need to type in 800 and click on this again, and I see 800. So this is it, 800. This is hello world. I can choose to print something else and say print hi, my name is Lois, and save. And when I print again, I see my name at the bottom. So this is just very simple. So this is just simple Python syntax. This is like the beginner of the beginners learning how to print. So this is just simple print. Now some people will learn print and then go and add it to their resume and say that they are a Python programmer, all because of the printed hello world. But this is just not enough for you to call yourself someone who is proficient with Python. You need to be able to do lots of other things, which we are going to look into. All right, so now that we've done this, I want somebody, fastest fingers first, in the comment section. I want you to print your name in the comment section. So making use of the print statement, print your name. I'm waiting for responses. Print your name. Anybody? Okay. Okay, Chiamaka, you've done that. Okay. So type it here in the comment section. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Kofoko, exactly. 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 You guys got it right. Exactly. Chiamaka, also write yours in the comment section. Let's see. Mercy, you've not typed yours. Adele, I've not seen yours. Okay. So now, one thing I also want to point out is this, that when you want to print and you want to print a string, now what is a string? When you see series of text enclosed in a quote or in a double quote, then it's a string. So if I also want to do this and I say hello world, it's still going to give me the same thing, no difference. So if I run this, still the same thing, hello world, hello world. The difference is that one was created with single quotes, the other one was created with double quotes. But at the end of the day, they are still strings. Please, this is not the same as this. This is a backtick. A backtick is not a quote. So let's not mistake that. A backtick is not a quote. When you want to create a string, make sure that you make use of either single quotes and make sure you end it, because if you don't end it, this is an error. To close it, same thing. If you use a single quote, don't use a double quote to end it. This is wrong. Same thing, if you use a double quote to start your string, do not use a single quote to end it. That is wrong. So the quote type you use to start is what you should use to end. And again, remember that quotes are not the same thing as backticks. They are not the same thing. I hope that part is clear. So let's move on. Okay, so thank you, Adele and Mercy. You dropped yours. Let me stop sharing and share a tab. Again, please, I hope I'm not going too fast. All right. Okay. So now that we have this, now this is we've looked at one. The other one we have now is indentation. So when you're working with programming language, right, most times you work with indentation. The idea behind indentation is indentation makes your work neat. It's just like when you're writing in a book, when you're keeping space, those space you keep is what makes your note fine. If not, it's going to be a bunch of rubbish joined together that people cannot be able to understand. It won't be clear. So when you're spacing your word, it's clear to somebody that okay, this is what it's supposed to be. Or maybe when you add comma or when you add full stop, someone is able to understand what you're writing. Indentations are similar. With indentations, you're trying to explain to your system or your computer what it is that you are trying to do. So most times, let me stop sharing and share my entire screen. So most times when you're working with other programming languages, I'm going to give an example here. This is an example of a JavaScript code I have here. Now, this JavaScript code, I made use of a curly brace. This is a curly brace. This thing you see here, this is a curly brace. So when my system sees that there is a curly brace, it knows that it's expecting a block of code. Something is happening on the next line because there is a curly brace. JavaScript, you have to make use of curly brace to indicate a block of code. That is, the code is not on one line. The code is going to another line. You make use of the curly brace. So you're telling the browser that, for example, everything from here to here is part of this block of code. So where the curly brace is ending, that's where this code is going to end. But with Python, it does not work that way. With Python, if you want to indent, you just use a tab. That's what is shown here. So here they wanted to indent. So normally if I want to do um if it's JavaScript, I want to write an if statement. I'll write if, and then I'll put my curly braces and tell the system do this or do that. So by this, I'm telling the system that this if statement I wrote here, this condition, because if is a condition, this is where it's starting. It's starting on line 35 and it's ending on line 37. But for Python, it does not work that way. You don't have this curly brace. So if you don't have this curly brace, how does your computer know that there is supposed to be something, or this is where it's starting and this is where it's ending? The way your computer is able to know that is by making use of tab, and that's what is used here. So for example, if I say if this is an if statement, so if I say if one, let's say 7 is greater than 2. In mathematics, 7 is a greater number than 2. Normally, if it was other programming language, I'll use curly brace. But this is already giving me an error. It's telling me that it doesn't use curly brace here. So what it makes use of is a colon. And then what should come next should be spaced by a tab. Then I can say print hello. I'm going to explain what's happening here. So what this is saying is if your system calculates and sees that the number 7 is greater than the number 2, then print hello. If I run this, it's going to work. I see hello here. But what if I take out, do you see this space here? I take it out. I am having an error. And I'm having an error because the system expects that I indent it. Because this here, this if statement or this conditional statement is expecting a block. So to denote a block, you make use of indentation. And to indent, you make use of tab. So when I press tab now, it goes away. Okay, so I've been talking since all this while. I want someone to explain to me, right? Explain to me, explain to me the difference between this and this. Is there any difference between these two? Somebody should tell me. I need a volunteer.
Um,
Which one?
Okay, this one here that I'm sharing here. So somebody please indicate by raising your hand. So who want to explain?
um, Good evening.
Okay, good evening.
There's no difference between the two of them.
Okay, can you explain why there's no difference?
You said double quotes and single quotes
Mhm.
perform the same function.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Exactly. So if I say print hello, thank you, and this, are they the same thing?
No,
No.
Okay, so what's the difference between the two of them?
the second one will not print anything, but the first one will print.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. That's Quindalin, yeah?
Yes,
All right. So when we close a text in this quote, what does it become? What data type does it become?
string.
String.
Very good. It becomes a string. But what if I have something like this? What data type is this?
Tech.
Integer.
uh,
Yeah, you're correct, integer. But what if we have something like this? What data type is this?
Float.
Float.
That's you guys understand data types. What if I have this true? What data type is this?
Text.
It's still a string.
So it's not. There's no quotation, so it's just
What data type
text.
is this?
A text.
Mm-mm. Look at the color.
Okay,
Has anyone heard about Boolean?
Boolean. Okay.
I've heard, but I don't know what it is.
So when something is either true or false, it's Boolean. So
Okay.
for other programming languages, you use true as in small letter true. So when I did true, it was an error telling me that it does not understand what it is. But when I made it to be capital true, he understood that it's a Boolean. Do you see? It's a Boolean. But if I change it to false, it's the same thing. It's a Boolean as well. So we have true or false. So something can either be true or it can either be false. So let's go back to what we did the other time. So what if, let me explain the Boolean. So if I say this, let me ask you guys, the number 7, is it greater than the number 2?
Yes.
So how does the system know that? So if I say print and I say 7 greater than 2, what do you think the system is going to print for me? Does anybody have any idea? Let's try. So when I click on
True or false?
true or false, so what do you think the system will print? True or false?
True.
True.
So when I click on play, you see it gives us true. Or what if I say 7 is less than 2? Is 7 less than 2?
False.
False.
It should be false. So this is how these are just some data types that are very important to understand, because there are sometimes when you're trying to work with a block of code or you want to build a logic and you want to check if something is true. So if something is true, do this. If something is not true, do this. So that is that. So now let's go back to where we were. We were talking about blocks of code. So we were saying indentation. When you want to indent, you need to make use of. Can somebody tell me what you need to make use of if you want to indent?
Tab.
Tab.
Yeah, exactly. You need to make use of a tab. So what happens if we don't make use of a tab? Can you explain what happens? What does the system think when you don't make use of a tab?
It is expecting a block of code.
Yeah,
It thinks the statement continues.
exactly. It thinks it continues and it should not continue. So the system is smart enough to know that since you put something like a conditional statement, then there should be a block of code. So the system is like telling you that you said you want a condition, then please move this. If not, it won't go. If, for example, I try that thing I did when I did if 7 is greater than 2, then make sure you add your colon. The colon is like telling it that, okay, you are expecting a block, then enter. By default, when I even pressed enter, the system indented it for me without doing anything. If I do print hi, right, this is going to run hi. But if I remove this, there's already an error. If I want to run it, you see, I see a problem. It's telling me indentation error. It is expecting an indented block. So that's also another cool thing about Python. Python, when there's an error, it gives you very explanatory errors. So you get to know where it is coming from. So you see this arrow here is showing that this is where it's coming from. It's expecting an indented block. And when we indent it by pressing tab, it goes away. Please don't go and indent by pressing space. So space, you see, don't do go and do that by pressing space. You want to indent, you make use of tab to indent. All right, so let's move on. Any question? Okay, Queen Darling, you raised your hand.
Yes, ma, I have a question.
Okay.
Is it a must we use the colon?
Yes, if you don't use the colon, let's do this now. If you don't use the colon, your system will throw an error that is expecting something. Let's run this. It's saying invalid syntax. So the people that built Python, they said they made it a rule that if you want to work with a block of code, you need to make sure that you put colon at the end. So even if it's any other statement, as long as you want to signify that you're trying to create a block of code, right? By block of code, I mean you're entering the next line and it has to be indented, then you must make use of a colon. It's a must. So it's a must. So you can't do without it. If you do that, it's going to show you invalid syntax error. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So now, that is that. Then there are Python variables. They are variables. So variables are a constant in any programming language. In fact, you can't work with any programming language. You can't build anything without variables. Variables are super good. They are super important and they are super smart. So variables are like storage location. So I want to store something that I want to use later. I store it in a variable. So again, different programming languages have their own syntax, but at the end of the day, they still have the same idea. There is no programming language you're going to learn today that you will not learn how to create variables in that programming language. It will just vary. So it's just like you're learning Igbo, you're learning Yoruba, you're learning Efik. These are different languages, so you need to learn how they are, right? But just like in Igbo, you have sounds, how one letter is pronounced. Same way in Yoruba, you have sounds, so how one letter is pronounced. It will not be pronounced the same way, but they still have the same foundation. So all programming languages have variables. It is a foundational block, so it's a must. So how do you create variables? Because you can't work with Python without creating variables. So to create a variable, you need to assign. So if I want to create a variable and then I say my variable name should be name. Now, sorry, for me to tell the system what is name holding, remember I said that a variable is supposed to hold something. It's like a storage location for something. So it's like I'm saying I want to store something inside this. It's just like when you want to save money inside your box, maybe your wooden box where you store money inside. So look at that your wooden box as a variable. So you can say name equals Lois. So once I do this, the system knows that it's a variable. You see that when I hover on it, it tells me that this is a variable. So variable Lois. So how do you define a variable? You give the name of the variable and then you put equal to. So what this equal to is saying is this equal to is an assignment operator. Assignment operator meaning it's telling the system that see this thing here that I wrote here, Lois, is supposed to be inside this variable called name. So if I do print name here and I run it, I'm going to see Lois. So this is the smart thing about variables, because there are times when you don't want to manually type information. Imagine if you have to manually type everything you want to print or everything you want to run. With variables, you can be able to assign it to something else, not something you are manually typing. If time permits us, we are going to look into this what I just explained in detail. But this is it. So now if I have another one and I say age equals 35, right? I want to print age. What do I do? Can anybody tell me what I should do?
Print H.
Print age. Now, if I run this, I see Lois and I see 35. So you see here, this is a variable name, this is a variable age. So yeah, so these are variables. So variables are these are just this is just the basics of variables. To create a variable, just do this equals this. That's just it. The name you want for the variable and this. But then when you want to create a variables, you need to bear in mind that there are rules to creating variables. There are rules to creating variables. So you can't just create anything and say, okay, it's going to work for me. This is not valid as a variable name because I added a hyphen. But if I make it to be an underscore, it will not throw an error. So there are some things you need to know about name. So when you want to create a variable name, you can give it any name you want to, even though the name is not an English name. It does not have to be an English name. But the moment you put this in inside a hyphen, it becomes wrong. So this is a don't. You should not do this. Then a variable should not start with a number. It's not allowed. It should not start with a number. So it can either be plain like this. So you can have full name. For example, we know that full and name is it's actually two words. So we cannot say full name. It's not going to work. The system will not understand this. What is this? It does not know that. It doesn't recognize this space in a variable name. So if you want to say, okay, this is full name, then you can do this, or you can say full and capital N. Full name equals Lois. So this is one. Or you can do full and name equals Lois. So you can have full name like this. So if you have words that want to make up a variable name, you can either write them fully like this as small letters, or you can start the first one as a small letter and the next word starts with the capital letter. Or you can start the first word as capital letter, the next word as a capital letter. So if I have something like my full name, then you can have my full name, or you can have my full name. So this is a type of this is a, this is these are ways you can actually define a variable. So it's actually here. I'm going to show that to you guys much later. But I hope this part is clear, please. Any questions? Any questions? Anybody? So no questions, yeah? Okay. So let's move ahead. So there is that. So now let's try this out. So who wants to try this out? Insert the missing part of the code below to output hello world. So what do we need to add here so that we output hello world?
Print.
Very correct. Print. So this is correct. Let's try this here. So print hello world. So let's see if it's correct. Yeah, it's correct. So the next exercise, let's see. This example misses indentation to be correct. Insert the missing indentation to make the code correct. So where should the indentation be?
In front
Before
of print.
Very good. When you do this and submit, we are correct. So that's good. We're on the right path. Let's move on to the next one, which is comments. Again, when you're working with programming, you need to make comments because there are times when you don't want something to run, right? You make use of comment. A comment, Queen Darling, you raised your hand.
yes, ma'am. Sorry, I wanted to ask if we can't start the variable name with a number, can we like add number maybe in between or at the end?
Okay, so let's try that. Let's see then. So since we can't say it and name equals Lois, let's see. Can we do name and it inside? Did it work? It worked. So yeah. So you can print this, it worked. So what if we add 8 at the end? Sorry, it also worked too. So as long as the number is not in the front, it's going to work. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So the next one is this. So comments. Comments are parts of your code that are being ignored. So during execution, your program or your system won't run it. So maybe you want to drop something and say, okay, say for example, name, and I want to say this is the name of a user. Now, if you type this, your system is going to throw an error because it's like wondering what is this that I wrote here. But you know that this is a comment. So to comment, you make sure you add hash in front. When you add hash, your system will know that this is a comment and it will not run it. So when I'm trying to run now, when I do this, it's just going to run Lois. It's not running this here because it is ignoring it. So you use comment to explain a bunch of code. So if you have long code and you want to explain to the next person, because when you code, you're not building for only yourself. If you're working in a team or in a company, you want your code to be readable so that another person can be able to understand what you are doing or what you wrote. If not, it's only you that understands your code, and that's bad. So you use comments to explain what it is that you did. That does not mean that you should use comment to fill up to fill up your code. In key areas that you need to explain what you did, please make use of comment. If I remove this hash and I save, I get error. That's invalid syntax because it does not understand what this is. Again, if you have a comment, make use of hash and your comment is created. But what if you want to create comments beside something? So maybe you want your comment to be beside this. This is the name of a user. You can do it the same way. Add hash here and it's going to work. So it does not mean that your comment has to be always at the top. It can be by the side. It can work like that. Also, if you want multiple comments, like multi-line comments, you can do that. Just add it on the next line, the same thing, and it's going to work. So this is multi-line comment. For example, you can want to say this is the name of a user, sorry, I created yesterday. So I can just comment everything here. So this is an example of a multi-line comment. So you write multi-line comments when maybe the comment you created on one line is very long. So you want to move it to the next line, then you can have this here. This is a multi-line comment. Then yeah, this is a multi-line string. So let's see. So the next one is with comments. So let's work on this exercise. So how do we add the comment to this?
We add hash
Hash.
before this.
All right, thank you. So this is correct. And the next one is this. So now there's something called multi-line string, which I've not touched. So multi-line strings, you create multi-line strings with triple quotes. So if, for example, you want, this is what multi-line strings mean. So you have a string. So you say name equals Lois. This is a single line string because it's only on one line. But what if you want it to be on a multiple line, meaning, so let's say maybe you have something else here again and something else here again. You see, I have an error here because by default, the system is expecting the code to end here on that same line. So for me to do that, I need to make this multi-line and it's going to work. You see, the error has gone. So if I do print name, sorry, name, and I run it, you see that it's entered another line. So this is what it means by multi-line. So Lois on one line, this rubbish on one line, the second rubbish on another line. Without that triple quotes, it's not going to work. When I save and I run, it tells me an error. So this is multi-line string. So based on what I just explained, how do you create a multi-line string?
A triple quote.
The three quotes,
Triple quotes, triple
the three double quotes.
quotes. Yep. So that is it, and that is correct. So yeah, we've done that. So good job everybody. You guys are picking it up and that's very good. I hope again I'm not moving too fast, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Do you have any questions? Okay, Queen Darling.
Sorry, can single quotes work or must it be the double quotes?
Okay, so let's try. Let's do one, two, three. One, two, three. It worked. So a quote is a quote, either single or double, as long as you're trying to create a multi-line string. And you remember, string can be created either with a single quote or a double quote. So it will work. Okay, let's move on. So variables, we've touched variables. So we said that if you add a quote, it becomes a string. If you don't add a quote, for example, if it's a number, the system knows it is a number. Now let me ask this question now. If I do print Lois, print 50, and print name, I want somebody to tell me the difference between the three. Anybody?
Sorry, I think I lost you for a moment.
Okay, so I dropped these three um
Okay.
lines of code. So the first one is print Lois in quotes. The first one is print 50, number 50, and the first one is print name without quotes. What's the difference between the three of them?
The first one is a string.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is number, and the last one is text. I don't know. Not sure.
Okay, so you got the first and second right, but the third one you did not get it. And somebody else help?
Okay. Okay. Is it a variable?
Yeah, exactly. It's a variable. So the system is thinking that this is a variable. So it's throwing an error that, okay, you added a variable, but you did not define the variable. So what that means is when you're working with variables, you have to define it before printing it or before using it. Because if you don't define it, the system does not know where it's picking it from. So the moment I do name equals maybe Lois and save, you see the error goes away. It's a variable. So when you don't add a quote to something, your system is going to assume that it is a variable. So I hope that part is clear. So we've touched this one. Then the next one is so yeah, this place says that your variables. Okay, Queen Darling,
Sorry, um must we assign values to the variables?
let's check that out. Not necessarily. Let's see. Mm. So in this case, for you to be able to define, if say you want it to be a string, but the string does not have any value, then you need to make it empty. So maybe later on in your code, right? You want to now change it. So for example, we can say if, so let's do something like this. So we can say age is equal to um, I'm trying to give an example. um I'm trying to give an example. What example can I give? um okay, so if brand, let's create another one called OS. This is just something that I want to try. So we can say OS equals is empty. It's like there's nothing there. If I print brand now, sorry, and I save and I run this, there's nothing that is showing there because it's empty. But later on, I can choose to say, okay, brand should be equal to iPhone. So when I run it, brand becomes iPhone. So what this means is that if you're trying to create a variable that does not have anything as a when you are starting, then later on in your code you can assign it the value you want eventually based on whatever you want to do. But when you're creating a variable, you can't just keep the variable without assigning it something. So you can either make it empty or null. You can make it null. Sorry. Uh, you can do this as this. Yeah. So you can either make it null, you can make it empty. So this is empty as well. You can make it to be an empty string. If it's even an integer, you can make it 0. Then later on the value will change.
Okay.
Yeah. So variables do not need to be declared with any particular type and can even change type after they have been set. So what this means is that when you say name equals hello, your system automatically knows that when you print name, that name is a string. So you don't need to tell it that okay, this is a string. Maybe by saying string, uh, something like this. You don't need to say name is equal to string hello. Do you get? The system automatically is smart enough to know that once it is in quotes, it's a string. It's smart enough to know that once it is not, if it is an integer, like if it's a number, you know it's an integer. It knows that if it is if it has this, it's floats, that kind of thing. I'm going to explain. I'm going to give you guys an example that explains this. So you can be able to know the type of an object by using this type method. So this type method will get you the type of what you are passing. So if I say type name, it's going to tell me what is the type of this name. So when I print, you see string, str is short form for string. If I do that for age and I run, you will see that it tells me that it's a float. I hope this explanation is clear. If I remove these decimals and I leave it as just a number and I play, you see it knows that it's an integer. So your compiler is smart enough to know that it's smart enough to know the data type of a variable without you expressly stating that this is the data type. That's what this is trying to say. That variables do not need to be declared with any particular type. And it can even change type after you've been set. So that means that if I say name is equal to hello, name, we already know that the type of name is string. If I now say name is equal to 600, and I run, it has changed to int. So because you defined a variable and the first value you gave it was string, does not mean that later on you cannot change to another data type. It can change. It is not definite, it's not final. You can always change it. You can always change it. So if you want to specify, there's something called casting, which is specifying the data type of a variable. So if you want to cast, so say for example now, yeah, this is a very good example. So we know that age here is 50, right? If I say print age, sorry, type of age, can anybody tell me what type will be returned?
Integer.
Integer.
You're very correct. It's going to return integer. But what if I cast it now? I say new age. Let me create a new variable called new age. New age is equal to str, because that's how you cast. So remember, we said when we did, it was giving us str, float, int. So you can use that. In this case, str, which denotes string, and use this bracket to denote that anything that enters inside here, no matter what you were before, become a string. If I do this as 50, and then I try to print type of new age, when I play, you see that age is integer, but new age is a string. Even though what I passed inside is an integer, it becomes a string because I've casted it as a string. So this is typecasting. So if you pass in a data of a different type into to be casted as a new data type, is actually very possible. If I want it to be integer, for example, I can do that. There is the int and then there is float. So what if I want this 50 now to be float? I can do float. And when I print, you see I have this int and this becomes float. So new age is float. So you can do typecasting. Again, the difference between 50 and 50 is that one is an integer and one is string. So when you're seeing str and 50, what it is doing is that it is converting that 50 to 50. That's what it is doing. But when you are doing int and then you are saying 50, that is, you are converting this 50 that is a string to 50. I hope my explanation is clear. If it's not clear, let me know. I can go back. So it's clear, yeah? Any questions? Okay, no questions then. So we've touched this. So this is how to get type. So to get type, you use type and then you get the type. So single or double quotes is the same thing. We've touched it already. Again, variables are case sensitive. Very good. So if I say name equals Lois and I say name equals Messi, they are the same thing, right? But in Python, they are not the same variable. So if I do print name and I do print name, I get something different. So I have Lois and I have Messi. They are not the same. So Python is a case sensitive programming language. So your variables can actually be the same but have maybe something that has capital letter inside or small letter inside and they'll not be the same. But what if I name this as name here? It's the same thing, right? So if I do this, can anybody tell me what the answer will be? I have to.
Mercy.
So the first print will be what?
The first, it will just be messy. It will change the first the definition. I don't
So
know if it's like that in Python though.
okay, so the first one, this first one will be messy. What will be the second one?
All will be messy.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So who gave that suggestion just now?
I'm the one.
Okay. So Casey, Messi, and Adele, what do you guys think?
Yeah. Um. Okay. Yeah. I actually think the same because it has the second print. Mercy has actually reassigned that variable name to Mercy, so it has changed from Louis to Mercy. So it will definitely print Mercy and Mercy.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let's see. So when we play, you guys are correct. So it becomes messy because it has reassigned. I like that term. It has reassigned this name, Lois, and changed it to messy. So this becomes this. So yeah, so it's case sensitive. So that's one thing you need to always remember. Some programming languages are not case sensitive. So even if you change the name, maybe at capital letter, it will still be the same thing regardless. But Python is case sensitive. So let's try an exercise. So Python variables, let's try this. So now I need somebody to do this. And in this case, Casey, you're going to answer this. So this one here, create a variable named car name and assign the value Volvo to it. So how do we do it, Casey? So what will be on the left side?
Hey, this one hard though. You said
Oh,
create a variable name, car name, and assign the value over to it.
mm-hmm. So what will be on the left side?
My brain is not thinking.
What did you say?
Let me be the next question, please. I'm not familiar. Okay. Car name equals to Volvo.
So what should be on the left? What should be inside this box?
Car name
And what should be
lowercase
inside here?
Volvo.
All right. So is Casey correct?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, Casey, you're correct. What you were scared of was just very simple. So exercise 2, create a variable named x and assign the value 50 to it. Who wants to try? Anybody who wants to try?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll put x first,
Mm-hmm.
then equal to 50.
Okay. Thank you. That's correct. The next one is now display the sum of 5 plus 10. Let's see. I've not touched this one, but let me see if okay. Uh let's touch some things here before we go to the next one. This exercise because of time. So variable names, we've have touched some things about variable name. So a variable name can have underscore inside, but it should not have hyphen. These are legal variable names. So underscores are allowed in creating variables. You can make use of capital letters, you can make use of numbers, but the numbers should not start the variable name, but you can end it. So these are correct. These are valid variable names. But invalid variable names, if it starts with number, if it has space, which I touched the other time, and if there is hyphen between, is wrong. And again, remember, variable names are case sensitive. So I was talking about this, that if you have a name, a variable name, and then it has words inside, each word can start with a capital letter. My variable name, capital letter for my, capital letter for variable, capital letter for name. This is called Pascal case in programming language. So Pascal case is uh, that which each word starts with a capital letter. That's Pascal case. But camel case is that which the first word starts with small letter, while the rest starts with a capital letter. So it's camel, like a camel back. You know how a camel back from the neck it goes low and then it goes up. That's how it is. So it's like low and then it goes wavy like that. So that's camel case. But snake case, you see, it looks like a snake. There is underscore inside. So if you're trying to draw this, if you're trying to draw this, is like a snake. The way the snake body goes up and down, like you're playing a snake game. So this is snake case. This is allowed. This is Pascal case, and this is camel case. So this is multi-word variable names. So multi-word means you have more than one word coming together to form a variable name. So there are cases whereby you want to create a variable and the name of that variable will have multiple words. And for you to join those multiple words together, remember you cannot use space. To join them together, you can either make it to be camel case, Pascal case, or snake case. These are the techniques that enable you make them readable. So again, I'm saying this, when you're building, make sure that your code is readable, because you're not building for only yourself. That is one of the things that sets apart a junior developer from a senior developer. You build code in a way that it's so beautiful to behold, beautiful to read. It is readable. So that's that. Then to assign multiple values. So to assign multiple values, you make use of a comma. So if I have name, age, year, I can do equals to Lois this. Let me show you what happens here. If I say name, age, year equals Lois, and I print name, can anybody tell me what to come out if I print name?
Lois will come out 3 times.
Ah,
Okay, wait. When you print them, okay, Lois will come out one.
okay.
I was thinking you put all the three.
Okay. So here now we have an error telling us that it's not enough. So this is not working because the program is expecting that I declared three variables, right? So it's expecting three answers. So Lois, age 50, year 2023. So when I save this and I run it again, I will see Lois. So if I print age, age becomes 50. When I print year, it becomes 2023. Now, the reason why this is good is because if you don't do this, you will now say you want to do name equals Lois, age equals 50, year equals 2023, which is already taking 3 lines of code. 3 lines of code that you could have replaced with just 1 line of code. So this one that you have here on line 1 is the same thing as what you have here. They are the same thing. They are still the same thing, because if I say print Lois, sorry, I said Lois, print name, sorry, name, print age, and print year, they still give us the same thing. The same thing. So it's the same thing. The difference is one is shorter and takes up less space. So it's the same thing. So this is assigning many values to multiple variables. Okay. A question, Gwendolyn.
Sorry, can we pass in the variable names with comma together at the same time?
I think that's what we did with comma like this. Is this what you mean?
Where we are printing, like when we say name, we say comma, age, then comma, then year. Is it
Okay,
possible?
let's try that. So name, age, and year. Let's run this. It's possible. Do you see that? It's possible.
Sorry, so that means there is new line character in Python.
New line. We didn't add a new line here.
No, I noticed that the other one they printed in separate lines, but this one now printed in one single line.
Yeah. So that the reason is because when you are printing, when you do print, print takes up one line. So anything that you want to print after it is going to end the next line. That's what happens when you do print. It takes up that whole line.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
But is there a way to make something to come to the next line? Does it work like that?
When you use print,
I don't know, Sha. But like for example, in C, you can use slash
and
n.
mhm. Yeah, that is possible too. It just depends on what you want to do. Yeah, it's very possible too.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's possible. Yeah. So you see, it says make sure the number of variables matches the number of values. Remember when you were trying to do just Lois and it threw us an error? That was because we were trying to assign just one value to three variables, which will not work. So it has to be the number of values should be equal to the number of variables. That's how it's supposed to be. But then if you want to assign one value to multiple variables, you now make use of the equal to sign. So instead of comma, when you use equal to here, when you do this and try to print this here, you see it. The name, age, and year is Lois. So it's like the same thing. So name, Lois, age, Lois, year, Lois. So that is it. So again, if you want to assign one value to multiple variables, you use equal to. If you want to assign multiple values to multiple variables, you make use of the comma. That's what you have to do. Okay. I'm going to leave this collection because this is something else. This is like an array. So collections are like arrays. So if you've worked with arrays before in any other programming language, collections are like arrays, but I don't want us to delve into that just yet. So yeah. If you want to output variables, you make use of the print function and then use it to output things, which we've done already. So you can output multiple variables by separating them with a comma, which we've done already. And if you want to output what's it called? You can also output multiple variables by making use of the plus sign. So let's try that as well. So let's do name plus age plus year. So you see Lois, Lois, Lois. So this is sweet thing about Python. If I did this with another programming language, I would definitely run into an error because it will think that this plus is addition and then it will now try to add string plus string plus string. And you cannot add strings together because normally you can only do addition in mathematics. But Python, because of the way Python is built, you can use it for so many things. It's going to add them together. Lois, Lois, Lois. So do you see what happened just now? So that's like one of the sweet things that Python can allow you to. Python is actually a very powerful and different programming language actually. It will add it together regardless. And this is why you can use it to do things like machine learning, things that other programming languages will not allow you to do. It allow you to do it. Okay. Then you want to add mathematical values. So say you have x equals 50. Don't know why I'm using 50. Y is equal to 600. So if I do print x plus y, what I'm going to have is 650. So if it's an integer, it will add them together. If it's a string, it will add them together. So that's that. Um okay, very good. But when you try to combine a string and a number, it will not work. So they have to be of the same data type for them to work, or similar data types. If you're trying to add x plus name, now remember name is a string or x is an integer. When we try to add them together, we run into an issue. Yep, because you cannot add integer and strings together. But if it's string and string, it will work. If it's integer and integer, it will work. If it's integer and float, it's still going to work because they are similar data types. And mathematically, you should be able to add integer and float. I hope that part is clear.
Yes.
Okay, that's that. And mhm, talk about global variables. We have to go into functions, which we've not touched yet. So I'm going to pause on this and let's go back to our exercises. So now we want to display the sum of 5 plus 10 using two variables x and y. How do we do this? Anybody? How do we do this?
We can do x equal to 5,
Mm-hmm.
then x down, okay, x plus y.
All right. Thank you very much. That is very correct. The next one is create a variable z, assign x plus y to it, and display the result. What would it be?
It's a variable.
Create a variable called z, assign x plus y to it, then display the result.
Okay, so z
Z.
will be, okay, sorry, you can go ahead.
Okay, so Z equals to X plus Y. Then
Mm-hmm.
print Z.
Very good. Very, very good. So you're correct. Very good. Thank you. The next one we have is this. Remove the illegal characters in the variable name. You know, we're talking about variable names. So what is wrong here? Let's remove them.
Number two,
Okay. What else?
the hyphen between my and first.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah, you're correct. Thank you very much. Exercise 6. Insert the correct syntax to assign the same value to all three variables in one code line. assign the same value. Okay, Casey.
Equals to equals to
Uh-huh. So you said equal to.
equals to.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, correct. Thank you very much. So let's skip this one. No, let's skip this one. So now the next one we'll be looking at now is data types. Please, I hope this information is not too much. What do you guys think? Is it too much information?
No, 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 it's okay. It's perfect.
Okay. AC, Messi, Adeli, what do you
No,
think?
it's not too much.
All right. So data types, so I know we've talked about some. We have string, which is for text type. We have numeric types, which we have int, we have float, and we have complex. If anybody did this in secondary school, whereby you are dealing with some crazy mathematical numbers, and then your calculator will be showing you E. Has anybody seen that kind of thing before when you're trying to calculate and then you see E at the end?
Yes.
Yeah, so these are complex numbers. So complex numbers, you can deal with them in Python. We have sequence types. We have list, tuple, and range, which if time permits us, will touch. Mapping. These things are this actually see frozen set, dictionary, list. These are things you will not see in other programming language, honestly. This is like the cool thing about Python. The cool thing that it enables you to. Do we remember doing set theory in secondary school in mathematics? Where you have union,
Yes.
intersection.
Medium and intersection.
Exactly. Now
Yes.
these things are things that Python allows you be able to do that in other programming language you won't do. So there is here they have set types whereby you can have set of values, set of another value, and then you can now check, okay, what is the union between two of them? What is the intersection? Those things you can do them here, which is these are the things that makes Python to be a powerful programming language. We have Boolean types, which is bool, that true or false. These are Boolean types. We have binary types, byte array, memory view. We have non-type exactly. So this is the non-type that I was trying to do the other time, but I did not remember. I wanted to do that I did null, but it didn't work. So there is something called non. Yeah. So when you do this, you're trying to tell you that this value has nothing inside, is empty. So there is the non-type. Again, to get the type, make use of the type method, and then you are able to get it. So this is the string with quotes. I'm sure we all know this. This is boolean. This is, yeah, so you seen this here, none, which is what I did here, none. So it's non-type, it's empty, nothing is there. We won't be able to touch all of this because of time, but later on in your own spare time, I believe that this explanation should be able to help you learn Python further on your own. We have Python numbers, so we have int, we have float, and we have complex. So I won't touch all of this because we don't need to touch them. We know what int is, we know what float is, and we know how to cast them. So we won't touch them. Then casting, we've talked about casting. You can cast a variable to be of another data type by making use of the data type and quotes. So if you want to cast a string into integer, then but you need to make sure that it is an int, but you need to make sure that it's an integer literal. What that means is you cannot come and do this and then say int x. If you get what I'm trying to say, you need to make sure that what you're converting should be something that can be converted. Do you get my point? So you need to make sure of that. Float as well. and string. So these are like basic things that I'm very sure you guys understand already. And these are strings. We've talked about strings. Are strings are lines of they are characters that are surrounded by either a single quotation mark or a double quotation mark. And we've talked about this already, strings. Okay. Hmm. Now, for us to look into these things that you're seeing here, um, some of these things here, we'll need to look into loops. We need to look into loops. So let's look at if else, and if time permits us, we'll look into loops. Then, if we can look into loops, then we can be able to come back to some things because some of the things here you need to understand loops to understand it. So, if else, they are conditional statements. So, condition could be if this house is a bungalow, do this. If this person stays in Nigeria, do this. If this person is not from Nigeria, do this. Those are conditional statements. There is no how you're going to build a program or a software that you will not deal with conditions. You need conditions because there are things or there are logics that depend on a condition. For example, there is when you go to a website, you can either log in or register. So, for example, when you log in, do this. When you register, do this. Because every time your users will not want to log in, sometimes your users will want to register, or maybe they've registered already, they want to log in. So there should be conditions. So conditions are very important, and conditions are not just a Python um, term. Conditions are available in all programming languages. So not just Python, other programming languages have conditional statements. Their syntax will be different, but it's still the same thing. So we did something similar when we said if 7 is greater than 2, do this. Now we have equals. So equals is this. So we can say if 5, this is greater than, if 5 is greater than 2, print hello. So we know 5 is greater than 2, so it's going to print hello. But what if we say 5 equals to 2? So this is saying that they are the same thing. Is 5 equal to 2? What do you guys think? Is 5 equal to 2?
No,
No. So what do you think is going to be printed?
to still print the hello. Abi, wait. It will not print the hello.
So what will be printed?
That means we need else statement. Mm.
So in this case, we don't have an else statement. So what will be printed?
I, I think nothing.
Nothing. So who else said nothing?
Nothing or an error.
You
Nothing,
said,
no, nothing will be printed.
all right, let's see. So you're going to have nothing because you said you should only print this when it's equal to. So 5 is not equal to 2. But if I change this number 2 to 5, then it should work because 5 is equal to 5. So that is the equality condition. So equals. So this not equals. So in programming, whenever you see exclamation, it means not. So this is saying if 5 is not equals to 5, print hello. What will be printed here, guys?
Nothing.
Nothing. That's because
Nothing.
Yeah, that's because 5 is actually equal to 5. So print nothing, nothing will be printed. But if I change this to maybe 99, it's going to print hello because 5 is not equal to 99. So if you actually look at it, it's like English language. It's like you're trying to convert something to English language, something you understand. So is A equal to B? Is A not equal to B? Then less than A is less than B. Less than or equal to. Very good. So we can have greater than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Now let me ask you guys, what will be the answer? Is 5 greater than or equal to 99?
False.
Okay, false. So what will be printed?
Nothing.
Not to. So explain why.
Okay. So it's greater than or equal to. Since 5 is not greater than or equal to, so the condition is false. So the
Okay.
print statement will not work here.
Okay. Now let me ask you guys this one. What will be the answer for this? Is 5 greater than or equal to 0.00?
Yes.
Who said that yes that is loud like this?
Yes. Because it has already satisfied one of the condition, which is greater than.
Hmm. I like the terms you make use of. Very good. Yeah, you're correct. So yes, very correct. It's greater than. So one of the conditions. So or. So when you say or in programming language, it means if one is not satisfied, as long as one is satisfied, it's going to work. But if it's and, the two of them has to be satisfied. The two conditions must be satisfied. If not, what you want, you won't get it. That is it. Then we have okay, we've touched greater than or equal to. Then we have less than or equal to. So what will be the answer here? Is 5 less than or equal to 0.0?
False.
So what will be printed?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, very correct.
Nothing will
Not
be printed.
yeah, nothing will be printed. So when you are making use of conditional statement like if, you need to make use of these logical conditions. These are the conditions you have to put inside this curly, sorry, bracket. This is it. You need to put something inside here that it will now check is it true or false. So when you say if 5 is greater than 80, what is going to be the result is either true or false. So at the end of the day, what your if statement is working with either true or false. That's what it's working with at the end of the day. It's working with this. Sorry. So your if statement is working with this. So all these things that you see here is going to either be converted to true or false. So it will now check, is it true? Okay, do this. Else, do that. So the else will now be, if this is true, then you know that okay, the next one is going to be else. Sorry, false. So it's either true or false. So when we do this, I think I've touched this a bit when I said this. So if we say, let's comment this one out. So if we say print and this, what we are going to get is either true or false. Exactly. Is either true or false, then what your if statement, your conditional statement is working with the results, which is true or false. So let's do this. If 5 greater than 80 is equal to true, print yes. What do you think the answer will be? Anybody, what will be the answer?
Nothing will be printed.
Okay, explain why.
Okay, the condition says 5 is greater than 80. That is, if 5 is greater than 80, it is true.
Mm-hmm.
But now 5 is not greater than 80, so it will not print yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Queen Darlene, right? Okay. So who else? Mercy, I just giving thumbs up. Say something.
She has already said it.
Say it. I want to hear from you. Say it.
Okay, the condition is asking if 5 is greater than 80. If it's true, then it
Mm-hmm. Continue. I stopped hearing you. I think our network is bad. So 5 greater than 80, remember, is printing false. Remember, it's printing false. So what it's just trying to do now is now converting this to false, and then it's saying is false equals to true. False is not equal to true. False is not equal to true. So because false is not equal to true, if is false equal to true? If it's equal to, then yes, if not. So basically that's what the system is doing, converting that and then checking if are they the same thing or not. So that's what we have here. We've done this already. We've touched indentation already. Then we have elif. Good. So now this is another difference between Python and other programming languages. So for other programming languages, you have else, if, and else. For Python, you have elif. So that elif is the else. So if we say if 5 greater than 80 is equal to true, if we do else here, then this here, and let's do print. Sorry, let's take this out. Print, sorry, print no. So let's run. Nice, it actually worked. So you can use that as well. So we have elif, sorry, I mixed that up. So this is elif, so this is else if, my bad. So this is else if. So just like in other programming language where you have else, sorry, if you have else if, and then you have else. So else if here stands for else if. So else if is going to expect something here. So it is going to expect another condition that is checking. So um if we have another condition we add here, then you should do this or not. So if else, so if 5 is greater than 80, then do this. Else, print no. So let me ask, what is going to be the answer here? Yes or no? Anybody? Yes or no?
No.
No.
All right. That's
No.
No.
Very correct. No. So we have else, we've touched that already. We have this and that. So else, L if stands for else if. So we can use else if. So we can have multiple else if. So it does not, we can only have one else. We can only have one. Again, look at indentation here. The system knows that else if needs to be on its own line, the same line as the if. So it's going to expect an expression and then indent it. So you can have multiple else if. You can have up to 50 else if, but that's bad. But you can have it. It's very, very possible. You can have else if, but you can only have one if and one else. So this is a shorthand for if, but let's leave that one. This is also a shorthand for else if. Uh, okay. So and we have these operators. So you see this equal to. We have equal to. We have or. It stands for or. We have this, which stands for and. We have and. Then we have or. We have not equal to. So these are various signs we have in programming language. So this and, this ampersand twice means and. This two lines means or. And this not equal to and this is equal to. So if we say this, so we can say, for example, we can say if 5 is greater than 2 and 5, sorry, and 9 is less than 6.5, then print you are correct. Else print not correct. So can anybody tell me what will be the answer here? Anybody?
Not correct.
Not correct. Who said not correct?
I'm the one.
Okay. Casey, Messi, Adele. What will be the
Correct.
answer? What will be the answer?
Not correct.
Not correct. That's Messi. Casey, Adele. What will be the answer? Okay, no response. So let's move on. So 5 greater than 2? Yes. Is 9 less than 6.5? The answer is no. So we should get not correct if all is well. So not correct. So yeah, you guys are correct. So we have all. So all is for this. Is for if one condition is true. So if we make this to be all, what will be the answer?
You are
You are
correct.
correct.
You are correct because one condition is
It's
satisfied.
true.
You are correct. It's fine. Then not. So So not in this case now. So you can make use of not in place of this exclamation mark. Remember, this exclamation mark is supposed to be to denote not. So we can make use of not as well. So what if we say and not? What will be the answer here? This is a bit tricky.
Yeah, correct.
You are correct.
I want an explanation. Why did you laugh? Explain.
Hey. Okay. Okay, because of the knots.
Please
Five
explain. No. Yeah.
five is greater than two,
Mm-hmm.
so that's satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And not, that's nine is not less than 6.5.
Mm-hmm. Continue.
That's it now. And not, okay, and it's that's nine is not less than 6.5. So it's also correct.
Okay. Then and.
Yes, both conditions are satisfied, so it means you are correct.
It says and not. I'm thinking the and the not will go that way, not like saying and alone.
Mm.
And not, abi?
So in this case, this is how the system is seeing it. One and two. Like this. So this one is true. This one is true. So true and true. You are correct. That's how the system is going to see it. You see, mathematics is good. Knowledge of maths is actually good. So people that say school is a scam. Secondary school is not a scam, oh, darling.
Now talking about maths, that's why I wanted to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that most of the things we do in programming we need maths? Can't, is, is there no way that someone doesn't just need to worry their head?
If you are doing Python, especially if you are doing data analytics, yes, you need mathematics, a very good knowledge of mathematics. But if you are programming, except if you are trying to build an application that has to do with mathematics, it's basically logic. Yeah, if you're dealing with a programming language, it's logic. What we did here now, this is just logic. We're making using knowledge of just basic mathematics here. So it's not like you're going to be doing further maths or no, you're not doing it here. It's just basic logic. Exactly. This is logic. Logical. Does it make sense? Is this right?
Mm.
Yeah, logic.
Sorry, I wanted to ask, can there
Mm-hmm.
be a bracket like before the knots so that we know that okay, we've grouped knots 9 less than 6.5?
It's possible for you to bracket it. It's actually very possible for readability.
Because it will now be clearer that okay, true and true eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very possible for us to do it. It will still give us the same thing. So the thing is, the compiler is smart enough to do it for you in the background. Yeah, but it's still the same thing. It does it. But there are cases whereby if you don't add this, your compiler will do rubbish for you. I'm trying to think up of a good case. Mm, there are cases like that where you have to expressly tell it like this. If not, it will go ahead and do something else. Okay, let's do this. Let's take it away and let's see if it's going to be smart enough. This is also logic, not necessarily mathematics. So All right. Children of God, what's the answer?
Compiler is doing it for us.
What do you mean by compiler is doing it for you? What should be the answer? You that wrote this code, what do you think the answer should be? Before we check what compiler will give us. Because in this case now, you are the one that knows how what you want to come out, right? Because you are the one building the software. The compiler is garbage in, garbage out. What you give it is what it will give you.
2, 4, 6. I'll go with you are correct.
All right. So, Queen Darlene, you've
Okay.
chosen you are correct. Casey,
Please let me see the code.
okay.
Wait, I have one question. No. Please, true.
Okay.
If in maths normally true or false is what? What's the answer?
I don't
When you
understand.
ask true or false, what's the answer? Is it true or is it false?
That one now depends. Oh.
We're taught that true or false. There should be an answer now so that I can use to know this thing.
Just choose your answer first. If 5 is greater than 2 or 6 is greater than 50. Okay, first of all, what is the answer to this one first? That would answer your true or false.
As it is still true now. One condition is correct for the first one.
So 5 is greater than 2. So this is true. Now we have this one. 9 is greater than 50 or 6.5 is less than 0.01. What would be the answer of this one?
Okay, it's true also. It's true.
That one is false.
Mathematicians in the house.
It's true now.
9 is
9 less than
greater than
50.
50. That thing is greater.
Ah,
So 9 is greater
it's true though. 9 is less than 50, true. Or 6.5 is, abi, what? 9 is greater than 50, false. Or 6.5 is less than 0.5, true.
is
Ah,
6.5 less than
no,
0.
It's
false.
also false.
Oh, I don't know.
False. So
Okay, wait.
6.5 is
That means
greater
the
than
and is
0.
joining those two sides.
Mm.
Oh, so
Okay,
not
this one is
correct.
false. False in both sides, yes.
Hmm. So
So this
what's the
side left is true, right hand side is false.
Let me change my answer.
My answer is, please help us explain. I don't know the answer actually.
no, you have
I'm
to, you
sorry.
have to, you have to, you have to get it.
Okay, you are not correct because I believe when true and false, it will give false. So you are not correct. That's my answer. Not
Okay.
correct.
So Casey not correct. Darling, what about you? Adele says not
I
correct.
can't see the question again.
Okay.
What's that? Not correct, yes.
Not correct. So if
Because
we
of
are
the times.
so if we had done it like this, it would have been more readable. Then we can now have another one here again. Sorry. Can I have another one here again? Another bracket here so that you are separating them. And then you have another bracket here for readability. Yeah, like this. But now let's see what the compiler tells us is the correct answer. So let's save this. The compiler says you are correct.
And I changed my answer.
It says you are correct. So why do we think the compiler said that? If anybody gets it, I'll give the person gift.
Okay, let me now use what I used to answer it before to
Okay.
explain. Okay, initially when I saw this thing, so I said 5 is greater than 2, or 6 is greater than. I was just looking at the ones that were correct. So from this side now, 6 um greater than is not greater than 50, and I now use the and for this next question. And so I joined 6 is greater than 50 and 9 is greater than 50 together, which means two of them are false. Then this other one was now the one of the or. 6.5 is less than 0.05, which is also false. So those just only that first one was correct. That's how I checked it.
Okay. Thank you. So the way so the way the compiler is doing it is it will check this one first. Then whatever I get, it will check with the next one and check with the next one. So we that we wrote it, we know that we are supposed to do it like this, bar, like this, and like this. Abby, let's do it like this and see if the answer that is going to give us will be the same or not. So save and run. Now you see that the answer has changed to not correct. So in this case now,
Yeah.
we've used the bracket to tell the compiler that this is how you are supposed to be treating it. So this is a very good instance of where you need brackets. If not, it's going to give you wrong answer and you think it's correct answer. So what it's doing now is saying, is 5 greater than 2? True. It has kept it. Then is 6 greater than 50? No. So true or false, right? It picks one. Then it goes to the next one. All right. So is yeah, so it picks the true, which is this one here. So this one is going here true. Then the next one it goes to do is it checks and is 9 greater than 50? No, it's not. That's false. True and false. Because of his and, then it's false. So we have false. Or is 6.5 lesser than, is 6.5 lesser than 0.01? No, it's not. So that's false. So false or false, we have false. So the answer here is you are correct. Because like they are the same thing. So we have false or false. We are picking one and you have it as false. You are correct. So the way, if I'm to explain this, is picking it like this. It takes this one as one block, one. Whatever it gets, it moves to the next one. Next. After it picks it, then it goes to the next one again. By default, that's how it's doing it. Like that, like that. Until you expressly tell it that this is how you want it to be. So that is a very good example of where we need what's it called? Where we need brackets. So 4 minutes to 9:30. So this is where we are going to call it a day. We're not able to touch some other things like we wanted to. Well, I feel that what we've been able to touch today is something that should give you all the basics of what of moving forward. So if you want to look into loops, right, it's still similar. You see a colon here, and then you see indentation here. So it's still part of what I've been able to explain. So I'm going to send a link to a resource that you all should watch in your spare time that would explain in detail Python, the basics for Python. So hold on while I fetch this for you all so you can watch. So let me share this. So this is a tutorial. I'm currently sharing my screen. So this is a tutorial by Mosh, programming with Mosh. So learn Python in 1 hour. This is a very good course which you should actually check out. It's very good. He breaks it down so well. So I'll send this. You should check it out. This is one video, and the second video as well is this is the fuller course. This is about 6 hours. He has 35 million views, so you know that this is legit. This is very good. He breaks it down very, very well. So you should check out these two. And yeah, so I'm always in the Slack community. If you're not part of the community, please join. And if you're part and you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me regarding this, and I'll try my best to make out time to respond. So that will be it for today. And any question before we? Okay, Gwendolyn.
So sorry, there's something I really wanted to find out. Um, when we are typing commands or when we are entering statements in Python, is it case sensitive? That is, can we use capital letters to write in commands?
When you say commands, you mean terminal commands?
Don't mind me, it's C I'm used to, so I don't know what they call. Okay, for example, if we are writing codes in Python, can we use uppercase to write? Like where we say print, can we start the P with capital letter? Then where we are other things that apart from variable naming and stuff.
Okay. Can anybody respond to that question? So Python is case sensitive, like I said the other time. So if we have print as small letter, print as capital letter, it's not going to work because it's going to think this is a function, but it's not a function. It's going to look for this and it's saying it's not defined. So inbuilt methods in Python, they are case sensitive. So whatever is the exact one is what you should follow. For example, true, you need capital letter. If you use small letter, it becomes a problem because you don't know what true is. It's not defined as a variable. So Python is case sensitive. You need to make sure that you're making use of the command or the syntax or the inbuilt method that you need to make use of.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So any other questions? Any addition or subtraction before we say hasta la vista? Okay. So in the absence of none, sorry, in the absence of any, we're going to call it a day. Thank you all for making our time. I was expecting number to be huge than this, and honestly, at some point, I wanted to I wanted to stop because, well, I was expecting a higher number, but yeah, thank you all for still joining in, and I'm looking forward to another time when we'll have another technical workshop and then we have more people joining in. So yeah, we're going to try our best to make sure that we have more workshops. So in Living Up Python, maybe something blockchain, something cybersecurity. We get people who are experienced in that field to come and just give a session, something practical. about it. All right then. So thank you all for
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much.
Thank you
Enjoy
too.
it. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll make this video available so you can watch.
I love the way you teach.
Aha, thank you so thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.